Testing. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, while waiting for the opening ceremony to commence, kindly enjoy Sekar Jepun dance, performed live by Sanggar Seni Semarandana via video streaming from Munggu, Bali. Sekar Jepun dance is an iconic dance of Badung Regency, symbolizing the beauty of a flower known as Sekar Jepun, which has beautiful color and charming form. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Olek Tamulilingan Dance. Olek Tamulilingan Dance was created by the great Balinese dance artist I Ketut Mario in 1952, depicting the movements of a beetle and a flower in the garden. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, kindly be advised to continuously observe the health and safety protocol for the new normal by wearing masks, maintaining physical distance, washing hands, and keeping surfaces sanitized. We will now play a video on the emergency and safety briefing from Sofitel Nusa Dua. Ladies and gentlemen, the last dance of the morning is Legong Keraton Dance, a classical Balinese dance with a very complex repertoire of movements. The Legong Keraton Dance tells the story of the journey of the king of Lasem who wants to propose to the daughter of the kingdom of Daha. Ladies and gentlemen, we will soon commence the 13th Bali Democracy Forum. This event is held in Sofitel Nusa Dua, Bali, and joined also virtually by delegates via Zoom video conference platform. We kindly remind all delegates joining in person and virtually to continuously observe the health and safety protocol during the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a courtesy to today's event, kindly switch off all electronic devices or switch them to silent mode. Thank you. We kindly ask all delegates joining in person to please be seated as we will soon commence the 13th Bali Democracy Forum. Once again, we kindly ask ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, to please be seated as the 13th Bali Democracy Forum will soon commence. Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, kindly please be seated as the 13th Bali Democracy Forum will soon commence. We would also like to once again kindly remind all delegates joining in person and virtually to continuously observe the health and safety protocol during the COVID-19 pandemic by wearing masks, washing hands, maintaining physical distance, and keeping surfaces sanitized. rise. The Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia enters the room.
You get the best of my love, oh, oh. You get the best of my love, oh, oh.
Please be seated.
You get the best of my love.
Democracy has always been about people. It protects their rights and guarantees the rule of law. For more than a decade, the Bali Democracy Forum has promoted a progressive democratic architecture in the Asia-Pacific region. Since 2008, BDF has continuously encouraged countries to establish a balance between economic and political development, creating peace and security, promoting human rights and fundamental freedom, as well as respecting humanitarian values. Along with its growth, BDF has discussed various themes that resulted in new ideas being further shared amongst countries. This year, the world has been facing uncertainties. The pandemic has triggered worldwide multi-crisis, shaken political, public health, and economic structures. Democracy faces challenges, recession, and growing skepticism. It puts the test on democracy to prove its resilience and effectiveness in dealing with crises. In this uncertain time, information credibility is an invaluable commodity. When the nations should put all the efforts to fight the pandemic, we still have to race head-to-head in an endless marathon with the disinformation circulating in society. The pandemic shows us that the world needs more transparency and inclusivity. The pandemic shows us that building resilience does not solely depend on enforcement capacity, but greatly affected by people's participation. The pandemic shows us that the government and its people need to go hand in hand to find solutions for unearthed problems. Finally, the pandemic shows us that the world needs democracy at this time of crisis. As a forum of sharing experiences, dialogues, and building initiatives to promote democracy, BDF and its pillars are significantly relevant. Thus, the 13th Bali Democracy Forum will address the theme, Democracy and the COVID-19 Pandemic. Within a democratic nation, social trust, free speech and power balance within society remain flourished. Democracy will enable the government to exercise accountable measures. Democracy will help society to recover and support the government's efforts. And democracy will create a common ground for government and society to build resilience together. Welcome to the 13th Bali Democracy Forum 2020.
Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Her Excellency Mrs. Retno L.P. Marsudi, Honorable Governor of Bali, Mr. Wayan Koster, Patron of the Institute of Peace and Democracy, His Excellency Mr. Hasan Wirayuda, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu. May peace be upon us. It is our greatest pleasure to welcome you to Bali, the land of gods, to the 13th Bali Democracy Forum, which draws the theme, Democracy and COVID-19 Pandemic. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, to commence the opening ceremony, we have the honor to kindly invite the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Her Excellency Mrs. Retno L.P. Marsudi, to deliver her opening remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua, salam kebajikan, selamat pagi, good morning. Yang saya hormati Bapak Hasan Wirayuda, yang saya hormati Gubernur Bali Bapak Iwayan Koster, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me warmly welcome everyone to the 13th Bali Democracy Forum, and thank you very much for your participation. A year after our last meeting, the state of the world has changed significantly. COVID-19 has impacted every fiber of our lives. The pandemic is not only a threat to public health and economy, it is also a test to democracy and our democratic values. That is why our theme today, Democracy and COVID-19 Pandemic, is very timely. This meeting will provide a good opportunity to draw lessons from each other and deliberate on important questions. What are the consequences of COVID-19 to democracy? How democracy works in dealing with a global pandemic? Or how do we sustain democracy in a post-pandemic world? Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, in the past few years, surveys and studies have shown that democracy is in recession. The EIU 2019 Democracy Index found that the average global score for democracy is at its lowest since 2006. Freedom House report in 2019 also found that global freedom has been in decline for 14 consecutive years. Today's pandemic might create even more additional challenges for democracy. Some may say the many restrictions applied during the pandemic, including restriction of mass gathering, the carrying out contact tracing and testing, as well as the enforcement of mask wearing, are a contest to individual democracy or individual freedom. They are not. These temporary restrictions are necessary, and they should be properly safeguarded to prevent information may potentially undermine the government effort to effectively mitigate and address the pandemic. For instance, disinformation campaign that misled the public on COVID-19 treatment and vaccine. Distinguished delegates, despite these challenges, democracy offers a glimpse of hope and optimism for us to recover from this pandemic. Some of the best performers in addressing COVID-19 are democracies. The 2020 Democratic Perception Index survey shows that 78% of the people around the world still believe that democracy is important to have in their country. Therefore, the pandemic should not waver our commitment to democracy just as much as democracy should not hamper our effort to effectively address the pandemic. Our task ahead will not be easy. We have to ensure that democracy can strive in a post-pandemic world. Allow me to offer three important elements for us to navigate this new landscape. First, restoring trust to democracy. Democracy must provide a space to meaningful dialogue in public health policy making during the pandemic. This will form the basis of trust between society and their governments. Studies from the past pandemic responses shows that people are more likely to comply with emergency health measures if they feel engaged in the decision making. In Indonesia, the Special Committee on COVID-19 Mitigation and Economic Recovery provides daily updates and report on the pandemic response. Transparency is key to building trust with the public. At the early stage of the pandemic, I myself held weekly briefing to international media with other cabinet members on our pandemic response. Engagement with all stakeholders is another key factor in trust building. Media and CSOs provide checks and balances to government measures and pandemic response performance. Our strong civil society have been actively involved in overseeing the government work, including through the COVID-19 Oversight Initiative, or in Bahasa Indonesia, we call it Inisiatif Kawal COVID-19. Together, we continue to promote transparency and public participation in restoring social trust and ensuring that democracy continues to deliver during this pandemic time. Second, safeguarding democratic norms post-pandemic. We have seen how fundamental aspects of our democracy are challenged during this pandemic. The right to assemble, vote, and deliberate in public is restricted. I mentioned it earlier. Under normal circumstances, this would simply be unacceptable. But in times of crisis, health emergency, like now, these measures are permissible. Research by Democracy Perception Index shows that the majority of global population views their countries are applying right amount, quote-unquote, right amount of restriction. This means that democratic norms are adaptable to the changing circumstances as long as there are legitimate measures taken in the public interest and open to public scrutiny. These are necessary safeguards that will prevent arbitrary use of emergency powers that violates basic freedom, again, as I mentioned earlier. The pandemic also presents an opportunity for us to rethink the way we exercise our democratic rights, from moving election rallies from the street to virtual spaces, to spurring future voting technologies. Just yesterday, Indonesia held simultaneous local election in 270 regions to elect local leaders, in which I also exercised my right to vote. And I was so happy, to be very frank, to see the implementation of strict health protocol at the venues. Exercising democracy requires responsibility. Third, fostering democratic solidarity against the pandemic. A pandemic brought to light a long-standing debate between the primacy of individual rights and the well-being of the community. For Indonesia, this is not either and or situation. Both can coexist. Achieving a balance between the two requires us to approach this issue from the solidarity perspective. Solidarity here means understanding that our individual rights come with a responsibility to comply with measures established in the public interest. Solidarity teaches us to always look after one another. The spirit of solidarity is an essential component of Indonesia's pandemic responses. In Central Java, for example, where I was born, the local government introduced a community-based program to donate and distribute foods for people affected by the pandemic. At global level, solidarity between countries is also required to effectively defeat this virus, because no country is powerful enough to do it alone. No one is safe until everyone is. Only through solidarity can we defeat the pandemic once and for all. Only through solidarity can we ensure that democracy serves as a force to unite rather than to divide. Embracing solidarity is our chance to reverse the democratic decline, to turn the tide of democratic recession into democratic renewal. Distinguished delegates, there are many reasons that we can learn from this pandemic. Most importantly, it has provided us a picture of the political system that have responded to it. Democracy is well equipped to address the pandemic, from being responsive to being adaptable amid the changing circumstances. After almost 11 months of responding to this crisis, now is the moment for us to begin the hard work of responding to the lessons learned before the next pandemic threat arises. For that, I'm very honored to officially declare the 13th Bali Democracy Forum open, and may we all have a fruitful dialogue. Let us begin our hard work today, and now I would like to invite the statement of the Director General of WHO and the Secretary General of the United Nations. Once again, colleagues, ambassadors, Excellency, thank you very, very much for your active participation in this Bali Democracy Forum. Stay strong, stay healthy, and stay united. I thank you very much. Matur suksma. Terima kasih banyak.
Never give up but a good be. If love is what you got, you've got a lot.
Your Excellency Retno Marsudi, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends, I would like to thank the government of Indonesia for the opportunity to address you today. Democracy, good governance, and the rule of law are essential for sustainable development, environmental protection, and reducing inequality. The COVID-19 pandemic is a stern reminder that public health, economics, and politics are deeply intertwined. Lives and livelihoods have been lost, and social, political, and economic stability has been undermined. The virus has thrived amid the gaps in our health systems and the inequities in our societies. I'm pleased to see the strong sense of regional solidarity in the Asia-Pacific, which has helped most countries in the region to prevent or contain widespread community transmission of COVID-19. I also congratulate Indonesia for joining the COVID-19 vaccine solidarity trial and the COVAX facility. COVID-19 is a global crisis So vaccines, medicines, and other tools that are developed must be shared equitably as global public goods, not held as private commodities that become another reason some people are left behind. The pandemic has shown why equitable health systems, including environmental and social protections, are so important at the basis for universal health coverage and productive, resilient, and stable economies. Ultimately, health is an investment in stability, prosperity, and resilience. WHO looks forward to working with Indonesia during its G20 presidency in 2022 and remains committed to working in solidarity with all countries in your region to build a healthier, safer, fairer, and more sustainable Asia Pacific. Terima kasih. I thank you.
Your Excellency, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Ibu Retno Marsudi, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to send my greetings to the Bali Democracy Forum. Let me begin by thanking Indonesia for its commitment to multilateralism and international cooperation, including as a current member of the UN Security Council. This year, as the United Nations marks its 75th anniversary, Indonesia celebrates its 75th anniversary of independence. A proud nation founded on the principle of unity and diversity that has forged a path to democracy and tolerance. But we mark these milestones at a time of great challenge. Inequalities are growing everywhere. The climate emergency threatens our shared future, and the microscopic virus has shaken humanity to its core. The Covid-19 pandemic has exposed deep fragilities, but we must not let it undermine democratic values, threaten human rights, or be used to restrict civic space. Civil society, media, and science must be part of the solution. And we must do more, much more, to ensure equality and expand opportunity for women. Now is the time to move our world forward without leaving anyone behind. Excellencies, the Bali Democracy Forum underscores the importance of the guiding values of freedom, inclusion, and respect for one another. International solidarity and political leadership are critical. Together, let us work for peace, sustainable development, and human rights for all. I wish you great success, and I thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the speeches conclude the opening ceremony of the 13th Bali Democracy Forum. The ministerial session, Perspective from the World, will soon commence. Once again, a kind reminder to all distinguished participants joining in person and virtual.